you can no, they're taking the box. We have to make sure.
In front of people, you are we are ready to beat him. We are ready to beat him. Do the right thing. Do the right thing.
Victory.
Hey,
We are live from the Takwa Community Center, where we're going to collate all the various results from all the 262 polling stations that votes were cast this day, December 7, 2024. As you can see from the video, from the background, lots of people have massed up right here at the Takwa Community Center, ready to listen to the announcement of the winner of the parliamentary and presidential elections for 2024 in the Takwa Nsawam constituency. Lots of people have massed up here. Some have begun jubilating. The NDC folks have begun jubilating because they feel that they have won the parliamentary elections in Takwa Nsawam constituency. I told you in my earlier videos that the Takwa Nsawam constituency has had the NPP governing in the winning the parliamentary seat for 24 good years. But today's election is an indication that the people of Takwa are really looking for change. Now the change, whether it will come or not, will depend on the results that will be collated this evening. So tomorrow morning, where we'll get to know the results, how the whole thing went in the Takwa Nsawam constituency. So the whole place is massed up with people, everybody, children, adults, men and women, old women, and everybody is right here at the Takwa Community Center, ready to listen to the announcement of the winner of the parliamentary elections in Takwa Nsawam constituency. That is what they are much interested in, because people say that they want change, and would the change really come? Whether it will come or not will depend on the collated results. We are here where we are going to bring everything live to our viewers on GhanaWeb and wherever on YouTube, Facebook, and all our social media handles. We are going to give everything to you right here. My name is Thomas Tete. I am still here at the Takwa Community Center, getting ready to get the results for you. Stay tuned.
people, they are suffering from LPP. Sorry, LPP, you are going now. You will never raise the child.
Parties do simple process: campaign, encourage your supporters to canvass for you, get the voters to go to the polling station, cast their vote for you. Everybody in the full glare of the public. The counting is done at the polling station. You have agents. All the other political parties have agents. You finish, you sign at the polling station that you accept the results at your polling station. When that is done, simple process. Move your pink sheet from the polling station and take it to the constituency coalition center, where you have your agents there with the Electoral Commission. And what is going to happen there is simple. The sheets, the pink sheet that your agent signed at the polling station is being brought to the constituency coalition center. And that is where those figures are going to be put together and summed up. When that is done, the constituency would now pick the constituency sheets from the constituency coalition center and take it to the regional coalition center. At the regional coalition center, let's use the Eastern region as an example. 33 constituencies. All they are going to do at the regional coalition center is to pick the 33 constituency coalition sheets, which you have a copy, and sum it, and then move it from there and bring it to the center, which is the Electoral Commission here in Accra, and they put together 16 coalition results, and we have our elections called. And so it's baffling, extremely baffling, to have the NDC behave the manner in which they are behaving. They continue to also peddle some falsehood. Somewhere around 4:30 p.m. thereabouts, the NDC held a press conference, and they are saying that the NDC organizer in the Ashanti region has discovered 500,000 ballot papers, which they claim are ballot papers that they have discovered being hidden by the MPP. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a complete falsehood. It's a complete lie. It's a falsehood. All we saw in that video is Joseph Yamin, the organizer of the NDC in the Ashanti region, holding his own phone, having a camera placed on him by his own people in a certain room with no resistance. No owner of the room, no owner of the house, not a single person they met in the room accustomed, standing and having a conversation, cheerfully telling somebody that I've discovered ballot papers. Our checks indicate that, first of all, the room they claim they discovered those ballot papers are not even at the location they indicated. Number two, these are actually ballot papers that Yamin himself took to the Ashanti region for whatever reason. Remember, they had already given some of these ballot papers to the youth organizer of the Atrima Kwama constituency. The police had already issued a statement on that. We showed a video earlier on, and maybe before I conclude, I'll show that video, where the son of the constituency youth organizer of the Atrima Kwama constituency was arrested by the Ghana police. For attempting to stuff a ballot box with 79 ballot papers. These ballot papers were part of the ballot papers that you saw Joseph Yamin standing by. What had actually happened was that Joseph Yamin realized that he had 30 minutes for elections to end, and he had not been successful to execute that task that had been given to him by his party. And so to save his face, he all of a sudden goes on video using a selfie and telling the whole country that he's found some ballot papers that belongs to the MPP. That's an outright lie. It's a complete falsehood, and it's something that everybody should disregard. We are calling on the Ghana Police Service to investigate to the latter. That video that Joseph Yamin has put out because they are an absolute threat to the stability of this country. They do not show us the number of the alleged ballot papers. We never see it. We only see some brown boxes or brown papers, you know, in a corner. They do not tell us the exact quantity that they have, because you have the deputy spokesperson of the flag bearer of the opposition party indicating on her Facebook post that they have discovered some 300,000 ballot papers. Then Joseph Yamin says 500,000. Then another NDC person says 400,000. So it tells you the kind of people they are and what it is that they are doing. Again, we do not see any MPP official in the video. So think about this. Joseph Yamin, for some reason, has magic. Identifies a building that has ballot papers, goes into that house, and there is nobody in the house. Joseph Yamin walks into that house seamlessly. The Joseph Yamin we know has a suspicion that there is a ballot paper hidden in the house, would start recording himself.
I'm telling you the truth. In the middle of the year, we are suffering from MVP.
Breaks into whichever house, opens whichever door, gets into a room, and then only begins to record himself inside a room. These guys really take the entire country completely as fools, because it doesn't just add up. The same Joseph Yamin gets into the room before inviting media. This Joseph Yamin we know, having picked intelligence that there is some ballot papers hidden somewhere by the MPP, will call the media, call police, and walk in there with them before he even puts a video on himself. He doesn't do any of these things. Again, we only see him in a corner with a video on himself. Now, you've discovered some 500,000 ballot papers in an MPP stronghold, and then the only evidence you show us is a selfie of yourself in a room, having a conversation with somebody excitedly, telling the person that you've discovered some ballot papers, and then telling us that you are now calling police to come and do whatever it is that you're expecting them to do. We all know the reasons why the NDC are behaving this way. Everybody in this country knows that this is not the first time we are going through this. Unfortunately, as a people, we have to deal with being inflicted with this every single election period. The NDC are clearly losing these elections, and they know it. As we speak, the elections have already been counted at the polling stations. Every political party has copies of the pink sheet. They know it. They know very well they are losing these elections, and that is why they would call for havoc. We are winning these elections as a party. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is winning these elections, and that's why we are saying that let's protect it. If we are winning, why would we want the electoral processes to be disrupted when we are winning? And so, I'm sure a lot of you recall the story in the Bible. I think it's a Solomon story. The story of the two rival women, where they went to sleep, woke up in the morning, and one of the babies are dead. Now the king calls these two women fighting over the living child. And then he says, why are you fighting? He said, this is my child, this is my child. Then the king says, okay, no problem, bring me a sword. This is the living one. Cut the living child into two so that you can all have a half of it. Now, you remember, the woman who knew very well that the dead child is her said, yes, kill the baby. Kill the baby. Now, the woman who knew that this child is my child, and because he's my child, I don't want the baby dead, said that, my king, if he would please her, give her the child. All this woman sought to do was to make sure that her child does not die. But the other lady that knew that she was guilty, knew that she had already lost her child, was willing for both of them to lose their children. That's exactly what the NDC are doing. They know they've lost. They know they are nowhere near victory in these elections. And that is why they would irresponsibly call on their supporters to move towards the coalition centers to disrupt the coalition centers. Already, we have heard of incidences in some of the constituencies. We saw some on TV, where some NDC persons were somewhere in Dansoman, breaking through the coalition center and basically attacking security services. What is this? At the coalition centers, you have your agent. Why do you want to go and destroy ballot papers and disrupt the electoral process if indeed you are confident that you have won these elections. Why? Why would any political party that is willing and ready to lead this country, why would any political party that is very, very clear in his mind that he has won this election want to disrupt these electoral processes? We will not allow that. Just as we've told you from the get-go, throughout the process, we have blocked each of the ill intent of the NDC. Every strategy they brought into this election has failed. And we are going to continue to ensure that they fail at it. And this one is also going to fail. At this juncture, we are waking every single MPP supporter up. Wake up. Call your families, call your brothers, call your sisters, go to the coalition centers, protect the EC, help the police protect our electoral system. Our democracy needs to be protected. And it will take the citizens to protect our democracy against this dangerous political party, the NDC. Go there, stand there, touch nobody, but make sure that nobody touches any electoral material. Make sure that nobody touches any security officer, and make sure that nobody touches any electoral officer. If anybody comes to the coalition center and attempts to touch anybody at the coalition center, you have our permission to touch that person because you are protecting democracy. That you have our blessing. And we stand by you for doing the right thing because that will be a patriotic action. As it stands now, our call on you is to collaborate and cooperate with these officers, electoral officers and security officers, and ensure that we protect the ballot that the Ghanaian citizen has cast, stood in the sun, some of them being beaten by rain, and cast their vote. We are clearly wondering what it is that the NDC and their leader is seeking to achieve by these unnecessary and reckless comments that they are making. Not a single constituency as we speak has even lifted the hands of any parliamentary candidate in their constituency, ladies and gentlemen. It is a process. As we speak, it is just 9:54. Every constituency you go to, they are tabulating their results. They are collating the pink sheets from the polling station. When they are done, that is when they will lift their hands of the parliamentary candidate that has won, and the electoral officer there will now declare that parliamentary candidate the winner. It is then and only then that any responsible political party would come on air and declare and indicate that they have won. We have our results. We know all the seats we've won already, but we are responsible. We are responsible. And we believe that to protect the sanctity of our electoral process and democracy, we should hold on to our numbers and our results until the Electoral Commission declares at the constituency level. Then we will declare. Throughout the process, from now till tomorrow, any moment that the Electoral Commission left the hands of any parliamentary candidates, that is from the MPP, we'll call you and we'll declare to you. That is what responsible political parties do. This election is going to be won with intelligence and not muscles. No matter how strong you are, no matter how much muscles you are, trust us. We are beating you with intelligence. And we are going to do it like we've always done it in previous elections. And like I always say, just as it is in the DNA of the NDC, whilst we are thinking and processing and using the due process, they are pumping, like they say it, and they are lifting metals. And then by the time they realize, they have lost. And then their followers will rise up against them. And then for them to hide behind the shame, they will call on their followers on the street. For the NDC followers, if you get on the street and the security agencies get hold of you, remember, you will be on your own. They will not be there with you. As we speak, Charles, the gentleman who is the son of the youth organizer of the NDC at Atwima Kwama constituency, is in police custody all alone. All alone. None of the NDC leaders are there with him. He is there all alone. And be rest assured, the police have shown clearly and indicated that they are on top of issues. And so if you get out there and misbehave to disrupt the peace of this country, you are going to find yourself wanting and you will be dealt with all alone. I leave all of us with 1 Kings 3:16. 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 16. When you read 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 16, and you understand that parable of the two women, you understand clearly what is happening with the NDC. It is nobody's fault that you are not seen as a credible alternative. Please, let us live in peace. Kindly, save us all the trouble. Kindly, let us all live in peace. You recall, in the year 2020, after the December elections, the NDC went on the street for weeks, destroyed properties, disrupted lives, spent months in court, only for them, 1 year down the line, the chairman of the NDC today, to go campaigning to their followers and tell them that their lawyer actually told them that they have no case and that they have no evidence. But because they wanted to energize the base and not be seen to be weak, they spent the time and wasted everybody's time in the court. That's exactly what they are doing again. We don't mind. They can keep all this emotional roller coaster to themselves and their followers, but they should not draw the entire country into this unnecessary disruption. We would get back to you in due course when the Electoral Commission begin to call the parliamentary and presidential elections at the constituency level, and we share that information with you appropriately. Until then, friends from the media, we are calling on you to work with us to ensure that we keep the peace and safety of this country in one piece. And we are doing this not because we do not have muscles. We are doing this simply because we believe we have won these elections and we want to have a country that is intact enough for us to be able to govern. Thank you very much. Akoye ni muhwe akoye faso a ba ne ade de sese ye nene se ya bebo ho ban na ya ye bia ka ho.
It's the election desk. My name is Benefo Boabeni. You can call me Abrantipa. I'm in the studio with Eche Atisu. He says he wants to pronounce his name. My friend, my name is Eche Atisu. All right, and we just went for the press conference of the NPP, which was addressed by Miracles Abuaji, one of the communications members of the NPP, ably assisted by Fatima, who is the information minister, and Richard Ahiagba, who is the communications manager of the NPP. So we will come back and discuss that, but we have our reporter, Joseph Henry Mensah, who just returned from Okankwe North, Okankwe North, and earlier we had a report that he had been assaulted, and so we want to have a conversation with him. Remember when we were speaking with him on phone, the line was not too clear, and so he's in the studio with us. Joseph, welcome.
Thank you very much, Abrantipa.
Not a pleasant news, but how are you doing?
I would say that I'm traumatized after the incident that happened at the Okankwe North Coalition Center this evening. So the whole thing happened when we tried to enter the coalition center itself, and before we go to the center, there were a lot of young men, I would say both from the NPP and the NDC. They were jubilating, kind of misfeeling. So if you try entering, they were just kind of hitting the car, making all sorts of noise. So the police tried to calm the whole situation down with the tear gas. After spraying the tear gas, people were running away, for their lives. So there was this woman who came in. She was holding a baby. The baby, I would say, will not reach, let's say, she will be like 2 to 3 years old. She was running the baby, screaming, she can't open her eyes, she was suffocating. You could see.
Because it was tear gas.
It was tear gas. She was suffocating. So a group of young men tried to help her out, brought her water, trying to wash her face. So I went there. When I saw the whole incident, I tried taking a video, and the young men, some group of young men came like, why am I taking the video of her? I said, oh, okay, if you don't want me to take the video, I'm going to delete it. from nowhere, they started slapping me from left and right. I can't count the number of people who were on me at that particular time. Cornered me at one, there was a one black car, cornered me at that particular place, started slapping me left and right. So I raised up my hand, I'm going to delete the video. Then another young man came to my aid and tried to give me a space, and I had to run away.
All of these sound like it happened in a flash.
Just in a flash.
So you were just trying to video what was happening from tear gas that had been shot to dispel the crowd. Then these young men just come. You are unable to count how many people there were?
No, I was not able to count.
And how long did they, what did they do? Did they slap you?
They just slapped me left, right, center. Like, they were like, this place, if you joke, we are going to beat you. We don't care. That's what they said. I was like, oh, media, I'm trying to, video what is happening. You're like, this place, if you try, we don't care who you are. You just slapped me left and right, and I had to run away.
But throughout the day, you were in that constituency.
Yeah, I was in the Okankwe North, but I moved to Okankwe Central.
Okay, but all along, did you get any sense that that place was going to get that chaotic?
No. Even when we got to the collection center, my driver was like, hey, this look at the number of people here. I was like, oh, how we wish you could have come earlier so that we could have prevented the whole incident. But we got there, you didn't even get a place to even park our car.
That's the collation center.
Yeah, that was the collation center. Achimota Clubhouse.
The candidates there are who and who?
So the candidates representing for the National Democratic Congress, that's Teresa Wuni.
Okay.
And
she's the incumbent.
So she's the incumbent member of parliament. And that of the NPP is Nanama Takwa.
Okay. But this thing that happened to you, did you get to speak to the police? Did you report this before you left there? You say you had to run for your life.
I had to run.
So how far away did you run from there?
Well, by the time I realized I was off the scene, I can't imagine how the whole thing happened. When they ambushed me, slapped me left and right, and I got a space, I was just going. So I left the scene and
When you contacted?
Yeah, that was when I contacted this thing, Dorcas. Okay. Yeah, to tell her that this is what has happened, and he asked me to come in.
You didn't get to speak to, maybe report this to the police or anyone?
I would say the police were not looking at anybody's face. Let me use that word. They were not looking at anybody's face. Even if you... So where the incident happened was outside, right? There was a gate that the EC officials and what have you, they were in a room. So before you even enter that particular room, they have to check your accreditations. And even the EC officials who are carrying ballot boxes trying to enter, they were just squeezing them left, right, center. So I had to, when the whole thing cooled down at my end, try to squeeze myself inside to the coalition center, find a comfortable place to contact Dorcas.
I'm trying to get all these details from GHM because, in 2020, we had some of our reporters also assaulted by some of these party people for no reason. And it's worrying because, you see, we're the media. We are only there to help bring to our viewers, listeners, anyone who follows the media for updates on what's happening. The EC can't tell you everything. Our job is not in any way to trample upon your freedom or anything. And I think that people should be very tolerant. This is something the GJ president has spoken about severally. I don't know what reason any of these party people would have to want to beat or attack a journalist. In fact, let's take a look at that video that JH actually captured. The video for which reason he was assaulted tonight at the Okankwe. There's a woman on the floor. She's wearing a white shirt spotted in black. And this is the woman. Somebody is giving her water. And so that she was actually in a very uncomfortable situation. I get it. Well, she was getting help. Otherwise, I believe that GH would have gone to help her. But how do we tell the story without the evidence? So this is what he was doing when these young men, and the place is dark, so I can understand how it is they were able to hide behind darkness to do this to you. So there it is. Try to video this, and
So
then
what
you are
their
ambushed.
concern was the fact that you were videoing the woman. It's not as though the men that attacked you were engaging in, some unlawful activities that you were filming. It's just because you were filming the lady that was on the floor. That's quite unfortunate.
Quite disturbing as well.
Yeah.
So there again, it's a video from the night. So it's an evening video. It's quite dark. The place wasn't so lighted. But JH, we're sorry that this happened to you. I'm sure that we will take this up beyond just what we've spoken about here, because this is unacceptable. We do not encourage it. It doesn't help with the kind of democracy we are trying to practice. If the media can't be free to do its work, then we might as well not be having a democracy at all. So we hope that possibly when we take this thing up from here, some redress is brought to it. But I hope that this does not. I hope it does not demoralize you too much. I know you are really shaken, but we're glad at least you made it back safe. That's the most important thing. But thank you. You've done some good work today. At least we've been having reports from you from morning all the way till this time. So thank you very much for that. So again, that's our reporter who was in the Okaikwe North constituency. He's been covering the elections there from morning all the way to this evening when coalition was happening in the constituency. And then unfortunately, he was ambushed by some young men believed to be from both sides of the leading political parties, the NDC and the NPP, because from what he's told us, it was out of their jubilation when the police decided to dispel them with tear gas that this thing happened. Well, we will be right back after this and for more. This is still our coverage of the 2024 general elections here at GhanaWeb. This is Election Desk. I want to bring you some stories that you can find on GhanaWeb.com and some of the things that have happened throughout today and some of the biggest talking points, especially now that results from the parliamentary elections are coming in. So when you go to www.ghanaweb.com, the leading story is a live stream. What we're doing here in studio, you can get to watch it on the website. There are also live updates, by the minute updates, everything that's happening across the country, as and when we get them, you can find them under that live updates story. The next story says 2 EC officials collapse at Coalition Center in Okaikwe North. Okay. There's also massive jubilation hits Legon campus as John Dumelo reportedly takes early lead in Ayawaso contest. Now, guys, this particular story is one of the stories of the several stories we are hearing about places where people have unseated other people. The also West Wagon is one of those tricky places. Incumbent leader Hassan Seram, who went head to head with John Dumelo in 2020, and he lost narrowly. This time we are getting reports. These are all provisional, by the way, but what do you make of?
Everybody is claiming to have won on social media. I mean, if you want to follow all the things that people are saying on social media, I mean, on a more serious note, so we have influencers, we have party members, each and every one trying to put out some figures. I don't know where they got the figures from, and we don't know where they got the figures from, and everyone is claiming that they won. And interestingly, some of them, they just either announce that they have won or they are in a comfortable lead without any figures. So how are you expecting us to declare as a winner? But in all of this is the EC that would announce. So for us, we are waiting for the results from our people at the various coalition centers before we do our announcement.
All right. And
for now, the Electoral Commission is holding its final press conference for the day, and so we call for that engagement.
The leadership of all political parties and presidential candidates that the coalition centers are restricted areas. Only persons who have been accredited by the Electoral Commission can have access to the constituency coalition centers. And each candidate has 2 agents at each of the coalition center. There is no need for the coalition centers to be overcrowded. Reports from the regions indicate that about 60% of the polling station results have been received at the constituency coalition centers. We also have reports of the number of second requests for recounts at polling stations. So far, we have only 1 polling station, which is the Suaman constituency in the Western North region, which has recorded a second recount for votes at the constituency coalition center for the final recount by the returning officer. With respect to the performance of our returning officers and coalition officers, they have performed their duties creditably and professionally and have so far been very impressive. And the commission would still urge them or encourage them to discharge their duties professionally as they start to collate results at the various coalition centers. With respect to security presence, their presence at the coalition centers has been stable and very encouraging. The police has been able to maintain effective security at the coalition centers so far, although few of the centers that have been overcrowded, they have been brought under control by the police. We also have some observers at the constituency coalition centers. We have Cordio, we have ECOWAS, we have AU, and the Commonwealth. With respect to political party or candidates' agents at the coalition centers, most of the candidates have their agents currently at the coalition centers where coalition is ongoing. The candidates have been very cooperative at the constituency collation centers so far, and we still urge them to cooperate with the Commission to ensure a seamless collation process or exercise. With respect to the media, the Commission appreciates the high level of their professionalism demonstrated so far. But we, however, urge the media to always verify or cross-check their information, as well as, importantly, the results that they put into the public domain. On this note, we would want to thank all of you, and from here, we will be heading towards the Collation Center, the National Collation Center, and wait for the results from the regions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Who's that? There are questions. So that's from the EC's headquarters, and
come to the attention of the EC, and what's your reaction to this?
My name is Zita Okwan. I work with Class FM. My question is about collating of packing of ballot boxes from the centers to the collation centers. What did the EC plan to, or how did the EC plan to move these ballot boxes? Because in Nungwa Traditional Authority Center 1B, there was an incident where an individual or a private vehicle had to transfer a ballot box to the collation center, which actually brought about chaos. How is the Electoral Commission moving ballot boxes from the centers to the collation centers?
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Inshra Kwabi, and I'm representing Asase Radio, Asasepa Radio. And I want to say thank you to the Electoral Commission. It's been a long day for all the developments so far, so well done to us all. And my question is that initially you told us that the last update was on the 50% turnout. We would like to know as media if you've been able to tell us the total percentage of turnout so far after the entire election. And lastly, it was alleged that there was a police force using tear gas on people, and even one EC official being caught up at the Okaikwe North Constituency Coalition Center. We would kindly want to know if this issue has come to your notice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Edward Akwa, Ghana News Agency. What necessitated a request, and what does it entail? If you could educate us a bit.
Mawina with TV3. It's the last session for the day, so if you could kindly allow us ask the questions. In the lead up to today, the Commission had stressed on decongesting collation centers. And I recall very well when the EC took, with the help of GJ, took journalists through a training. The understanding we got is that the EC had introduced reforms where presiding officers are to head towards collation centers with just their pink sheets. And then the ballot boxes are to head towards the district offices of the Electoral Commission. What has changed between then and now, where we're seeing presiding officers move to collation centers with ballot boxes, which is resulting in the chaos? Has the EC issued a subsequent directive which has changed what was supposed to be an earlier directive which would help in congestion?
So, the sixth question, that's the last one, is what I'm going to use to answer the third question. It's the same. You know, what the Commission asks returning officers to do is this. All ballot boxes were to be sent to the district offices, so that the pink sheet, that's the Form 8A and B, are those to be sent to the collation centers to be delivered to the returning officer. However, some of the district offices are serving as what? Collation centers. So in case you find some ballot boxes being sent to a collation center, probably that collation center may be what? A district office. So that's the difference. Then this issue of declaring results within 72 hours, this is just by a convention. We don't have any law which is requesting for the duration. However, because the Commission would want to prevent anxiety and all that, we try as much as possible to deploy all our resources to make sure that we get the results in good time. At times, situations arise where people may request for recounts, you know, at the polling station level, at the collation centers and other things, which may, you know, to a very large extent, affect declaration of the results early. However, we still maintain that the Commission will do all what it can to declare the results at a very early time. The shooting incident at Abuakwanov hasn't actually come to the attention of the Commission. I don't know if any of the commissioners is aware of that. The packaging of the ballots, that one has been answered. And the 50% turnout, as at the time, you know, in the afternoon, we were getting the figures. But because the district officers, the returning officers, have been engaged in other activities, we are actually getting it very difficult to get all the figures. That is why we've not been able to give you the final turnout. But definitely in the course of tomorrow, we can get it for you. The request for the recount at Swerman, we are trying to get the reason for request. The director, Electoral Services, is making efforts to get in touch with the regional director. So that brings us to the end of No, that's what I told you. Yes. Yeah. No, it is not the policy of the commission to use private vehicles. No. We use the commission's vehicle or what we call commandeered vehicle. Those ones are sanctioned by the commission. We rely on maybe the Ghana Health Authority, district assemblies, vehicles, and other things, and that is what we use. No, we don't allow taxis to carry or deploy election material. So if you have that information, you can give it to us. We will investigate. But that is not the policy of the commission. Thank you.
Right. Sir, Bernard Atwata, United Television, kindly furnish us with the remaining 5 areas where recount.
So, per the checks done by the Direct Electoral Services at the polling station, one of the agents raised the issue of overvoting. So that's why it was sent to the Constituency Collation Center. They did a recount and they found out that there was no overvoting.
So the remaining 5 places where recounting has been called for.
No, I said so far it's only one place which has come attention of the commission.
Okay.
And that is Swaman.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Tete, please, could you kindly confirm the tear gas incident?
Please.
At the Okaikwe?
Yes, that also hasn't come to the attention of the commission.
Okay.
Say the tear gas by the police. No. It hasn't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, we said 5 questions and 5 questions. We've gone beyond 5 questions.
Right, from the EC.
Welcome back, and that's the final press conference from the Electoral Commission for the day. Each session is 30 minutes, so the time is up. We continue with our coverage of the 2024 elections, but a quick one on the summary of what was said at the press conference. The officers have performed their duties professionally, and that's according to the EC, talking about the presiding officers and all other officers of the EC who have helped in the conduct of the election. Says collation centers are restricted, only authorized persons are allowed access. So as I mentioned earlier, if you are making your way to the collation center, ensure that you have your tag or your press accreditation. They also appreciate high-level performance of the media, and they also confirm that there have been requests for a recount. That's a number of the candidates are requesting a recount. And shooting incident at Ebuakwa hasn't been to the attention of the EC, hasn't been brought to the attention of the EC. Now, talking about shooting incidents, the Ghana Police Service some few minutes ago released a statement in less than 10 minutes announcing that police arrest 4 suspects in connection with a shooting incident at Ewutu Senya East constituency in the central region. And it reads, the Ghana Police Service has arrested Issa Hakim Bawa and Isaka Mashua. 1 AK-47 rifle with 69 rounds of ammunition has been retrieved from the suspects. The injured victim is currently receiving medical care while the body of the deceased has been deposited or taken to the morgue for preservation and autopsy. Meanwhile, the four suspects are currently in custody assisting the police in investigation. And that's the statement from the Ghana Police Service with regard to the shooting incident that occurred in Kaswa. So before we went on the break, Eche was giving us some of the stories that you would find on GhanaWeb.com if you log on to the website. But I don't know if before he continues, he has anything to say about the EC statements. Otherwise, we move on to
one thing I want to add is he was saying that 60% of the collated results have been received so far.
Yeah.
Yes, and one other thing I do not understand is security is tight, but people still want to go to the coalition center fully armed. It doesn't make sense.
Well,
why, to protect the ballot boxes or what?
Maybe they've lost interest. They've lost confidence in
the security. So they'll take it into their own hands.
Yes, that's not a justification. But I'm trying to enter. You know, I'm trying to understand how they are thinking. You know, but of course, if you have all the two major political parties urging their people to go to the coalition center, when you know that indeed the access is restricted and is only for those who have accreditation. In the first place, what are your supporters going to do at the coalition center if you have your reps there? I mean, some of these things we can avoid them.
The police service has already made it clear that it's not everyone that will be allowed there. If you
need accreditation.
You need accreditation.
So
and I'm not sure all of
their picketing or what for what. It's unnecessary tension, you know. And like I said, everyone is claiming to have won. If you go on social media, MPP, we have won. Their fans are jubilating. NDC, the same thing, but nobody has of the famous comfortable lead. And at the end of the day, if it goes south, then a whole lot of criticisms. You know, I mean, stay in your house. You have representatives at the coalition center. Well, everybody should go there. You think that? What do you think will happen?
As you said, they have lost trust. They've lost trust in the system, so they want to be present.
Even when you have your people there, those who have accreditation, and the media is there, you know,
they still
whatever has been counted and announced at the polling centers that have been certified is what's going to be, you know, put together. It's a summary of everything. So this.
They no trust in the system and wanting to be there themselves to witness everything that's going on.
Well,
just so nothing goes wrong.
If only that will help them. I mean, as you're speaking about that, there's this simultaneous posts on Facebook. One person from the NDC writes, Ejura retained. And the next post on my feed is from an MPP person. He writes, Ejura is back. And their backgrounds are green and blue. Very
so this time around, we're now asking, are we going, is the atmosphere turning green or it's turning blue?
You see, that's what happens that sometimes creates tension. Because let's say this is a leader that you trust so much because you know that as for this person, he's credible. He will not rush to put any statement out. And he says we are winning or we have won, and then later it turns out that you have lost. So you begin to ask, if we hadn't won, our leader wouldn't have said A, B, C. You know,
so that means that there could have been some
shifting
happening.
Yes, I mean anything can happen, but I'm just saying that we should not rush into announcing that we are winners if we cannot back it with figures. You understand? Otherwise, at the end of the day, we will not be making any headway.
You actually said winners if we do not have figures.
That's a
winners with figures.
Right. So we are told that the NDC is up next with its press conference. So we cross over quickly to have that.
Let's go to the next video so that they can see the ballot box. Yeah, so that's one of the guys. Can you go to the next one? Next one. Yes, so these are the two ballot boxes. They try to swap with authentic ballot boxes. These are the two ballot boxes. And the police have seized that. They have seized that. And this was as a result of the vigilance of our people and the professionalism of the Ghana Police Service. And we commend them for that. So these are the ballot boxes. It pounced on the vehicle which was transporting the ballot boxes from Abuakwa to Nkare Asepase. And they already had a ballot box with papers in it, ballot papers in it already tam-printed. So when we tell you that these guys are up to no good, they are criminally minded. These are demented psychopaths who will do everything and anything to hold on to power, including killing, including stealing. This is what we are talking about. They make frivolous allegations without any proof. We are giving you proof. So the new evangelist, the MPP has now got an evangelist, Dennis Miracles Abuaje. We want him to hold a press conference on this and tell us whether this is true or not. Now, let's move from Atrimangwa-Beja South and come to the the central region, Awutu Senya East constituency, where we've recorded another murder of an innocent citizen who happens to be a supporter of the National Democratic Congress. Clearly, Awutu Senya East constituency is green. The tyrant, Hawa Kumsin, is a goner. And seeing that power has obviously left her, she cannot come to terms with the reality and has resorted to violence as she is known for. She's the same person who went to a police station and actually pulled a gun and shot at innocent civilians. And today, his thugs who were brought in from the Boku area, we know them, we have intel on all of them, were directed by Hawa Kumsin to fire at an innocent, unarmed supporter of the NDC. Today, our former constituency secretary for Ayawaso, for Awutu Senya East constituency, Tuareg is no longer with the living. He's no longer with us. Why? Because thugs of this same woman, Hawa Kumsin, beat him to pulp. And he never recovered, never got better until he died very painfully, leaving behind many children. So for how long will Hawa Kumsin continue to do this? As I speak to you, one supporter of the NDC has been murdered. He's dead. The other is in critical condition at the hospital. But that is not to say that we have lost focus. It is a very sad moment for us, a very difficult moment for us. But until Honorable Koyo is declared as a member of parliament elect for that constituency, we shall rest not in that constituency. And the information we have is that the coalition currently ongoing at the coalition center at ASEC is almost coming to an end. And we want to call on all our supporters, all our agents to remain extra vigilant until the process is concluded. The duly elected member of parliament for the constituency is declared by the EC. The resource form duly signed by agents, our agents get them, you can go and jubilate. But until we will show you pictures and videos of that. But I'm sure by now your correspondents in the area have already spoken to you about this sad development. But you know, nobody goes scot-free after shedding innocent blood. The NPP doesn't understand what is happening to them today. And one of the reasons why they are losing this miserably, like their own prophet told them they will lose Poto, is because of the 8 innocent Ghanaians they murdered in 2020. The blood of those innocent Ghanaians will forever be on their head. And so will be the blood of these two innocent Ghanaians who have been murdered today. One in Nyankpala in the Tolong constituency. An innocent civilian who was sitting somewhere only for these NPP thugs under the instruction of their parliamentary candidate Habib to open fire on him. And if you can show that that is the injured person, show us the picture of the one who they murdered in cold blood under a bench because they were seated down. They didn't have any weapon. They killed them just like that because they had gone to the UDS campus at Nyankpala to influence and induce students to vote for Habib. Our supporters protested. It led to some heated exchanges and fisticuffs. The MPP thugs left the scene with Habib and came back there with their AK-47s and all that. They began to shoot indiscriminately to intimidate the crowd. The crowd dispersed. And on their way out, they met these NDC supporters sitting somewhere under an NDC shed. And they just opened fire on them and killed one at the spot. And here let me commend the Ghana Police Service led by IGP Dampare. IGP so far so good. It's not been smooth. We've not been happy with how some military men have been deployed and how some of them are behaving. But I think that so far the Election Security Task Force under your leadership has done its best to maintain law and order in consonance with the laws governing this process, the constitution that you have sworn to uphold. And I'm commending him because we understand that 4 of the criminals who committed this dastardly act what's his name? Henry Korte is Member of Parliament and the outgoing Member of Parliament for the area. We are having similar issue at Tema Central, Ablikuma West, especially where Aslawusu is the Member of Parliament and Ablikuma North. And the common feature of all these challenges we are having at these coalition centers is that the police, or let me not even say the police, these thugs of the NPP, because some of them may be wearing police uniforms or military uniforms, but you can't even tell. Today, in Akufo-Addo's Ghana, whether these people are truly soldiers, you can't really tell. That is how depraved the leadership of this country has become and how bastardized our state institutions have been, reduced to. And so these thugs don't want to allow members of the public to at least observe. Because at Ablikuma West, thugs of the NPP tried to engage in ballot box swapping. They threw into the coalition center 2 ballot boxes. And people saw it because they were there. And they were there because we called on them to be there. Had they not been there, the story could have been a different one. So they were there and then protested and resisted that ballot box swapping attempt by the NPP. Immediately that happened, Aslawusu called her soldiers. And they came there in a truck. Soldiers armed to the teeth surrounding the coalition center. Well, our Deputy General Secretary is on the ground, and I'm told that the soldiers have now backed off. But that is a challenge we are encountering there. Same as Ablikuma North, same as Tema Central. And we are telling our people, stand your ground. Stand your ground. Be peaceful, be responsible, be orderly, but stand your ground. You have nothing to fear because we are on the side of the law. We are on the side of the law. And they cannot kill all of us in Ghana. They can't. Now, to conclude, there is also the issue of Abuakwa North in the eastern region, where, again, at the coalition center, the police has fired tear gas, they are spraying pepper spray, just to make sure that our people are not there to observe the process. And we want to call on the IGP to address these issues that we are encountering in some of these polling stations. The entire electoral process is a public exercise from the police station level to the constituency level to the regional level to the national level. Accredited agents are the ones who are allowed to be in the collation rooms. We all know that. But the public, the general public, is allowed to be around to observe what is happening. What is happening is not an election of a secret society. It's an election of a democratic country. People have cast their votes. What do you have to hide? And some people will say, oh, but your agents are there, allow them. 2 agents and a few observers. What about if they bandit them somewhere? Like they did at Echiman South. They attack them. They hound them out. Who will be there to defend them? And you want us, a serious political party, ready for power and in fact coming into power, to listen to your advice and tell our supporters to sleep at home and allow only 2 agents to be there observing the collation. You think we are zombies and I am worried because it will not happen today, it will not happen tomorrow. We will police this exercise to the very end, and we call on our supporters to do exactly that. Now, finally, I'll end with a joke. I heard the new evangelist the MPP has now discovered, their communications director, who is now quoting a lot of Bible quotations, saying that they have won the election. Well, I'm not here to counter that. I'm not here to say that we have won. As for who has won, by now, every Ghanaian knows. They themselves, they know. And I want to show you one person who knows, because as the evangelist was preaching and saying they have won, his brother, the communications director of the MPP, was by his side. And from the look on his face, can we see that picture? I want to show you the face of a man who says he has won an election. Look, this is Richard Ahiagba, MPP communications director. So if the MPP has truly won an election, you think this is how Richard Ahiagba will be looking? This will be his countenance and his facial expression. And I'm sure you saw Fatima too. Yes. So these are the people who claim they have won an election. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your patience. We thank you for your collaboration. We appreciate your presence here with us, and we want to encourage you to stick with us until we bring this process to an end. Teach you your supporters in Akasa. About 1 year and 2 years, you are to a kind of police station. But
that was the National Communications Officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, addressing the press. Some interesting statements being made there, and he's urging his supporters to continuously be calm whilst observing the electoral process, because for him it's not over until it's over. So do not jubilate yet. Stay vigilant and ensure that the opponent does not succeed in rigging the election, as he chooses to say. We have our reporter, George AEC. George AEC is back from. George, where have you been?
I've been in
Ningo Pram, St. George's constituency. Tell us, when you went there during the day, up until the afternoon, in the evening when polls closed, sorting began, and then results were announced, and tell us what the situation is now, or whilst you were leaving the polling center. Have results finally been declared, as in the parliamentary, or we are still waiting? What's up?
Thank you for having me, Abrante, and thanks for.
It's been a long day.
I met a candidate this afternoon who was literally sleeping through an interview. He was standing and he was sleeping. He just told me that, look, I need to just go and take a break and probably get some rest. But I mean, considering what's ahead, probably the night is so young. And we arrived in Ningo Pram quite early, before the official opening of polls. for a large number of the polling stations, a little over 200. Election officially commenced a few minutes late due to the sorting of ballot materials here and there and all that. But largely, the voting started 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late, but voting started in almost a lot of the polling stations across, talking about Anwiem, talking about Afienya, Mataeko, and all those places. And it was not until sometime in the afternoon that the Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram, Samuel Nate George, went to cast his vote at Anwiem, and during his engagement with the media, a lot of questions were asked. He shared his view on the entire process. He largely described it as very successful at that moment, but then there had been some few challenges, including non-functioning BVD machines, which he lauded the EC for resolving immediately. Those issues came out. Then again, he was talking about the issue of unsealed stamps and all that, but he says those issues were resolved. Of course, the media sought to get his input on some national issues here and there. You know his role in Parliament in terms of the drafting and the promotion of the whole anti-LGBTQ bill and all that. And he was asked if he's confident in his candidate, former President John Dramani Mahama's commitment to approving the bill, which has actually been sent to President Akufo-Addo, and he has returned it on the basis that there is a suit against it. And according to Sam George, he will not let his own president have peace of mind until he approves it. That is, if John Dramani Mahama is able to win this election, he will not have rest until he approves the bill. And then he was asked about the condition of roads in the constituency is quite bad, not very good. And he was asked about it, and his response was that as much as some people would think that is bad, for him it is more indicting on the current government than he is. He says he has sat in Parliament and has engaged in the approval of several budgets, subsequent budgets, which were supposed to be used in constructing a lot of these roads, but somehow, some way, these roads were not constructed. Of course, most of these MPs will tell you that, look, it's not my government that's in power, so I am not able to do a lot of the things. So for him, he's more confident that with the possible coming of an NDC government into power, he should be able to up his game in his constituency. Then at 5 p.m., when polls were officially supposed to close, where we were, the Anglican cluster of schools, you know, in the history of Ghana, we used to have more larger polling centers with less numbers in terms of the polling centers. So you have a lot of people coming to one place just to vote, but now the EC has, as much as possible, try to split the numbers. So you don't even have more than, say, 500 at one single polling station. And we thought because of that, it will help with the process, getting people to just come through. And truly it helped, except that largely this election seems to have witnessed a lower voter turnout. And that was something that the Member of Parliament himself noted during his engagement with the media, and he expressed hopes that maybe within the course of the day, the numbers was going to increase, but it never did. From the numbers we were able to pick up before leaving, it looked like there was quite a low turnout of voters.
But the EC said it recorded massive turnout.
That was the contrary. That was, I think, that I don't know what the EC has said in the evening update, but I think it was in the afternoon that they were saying they had recorded about 50% and all that. But you need more to at least accomplish what you would describe as massive. And from the data I saw at Ningo Pram Pram, it quite kind of looked like the turnout was low. So yes, at 5 o'clock in the evening, polls officially closed. I saw an old man whose family brought him just a minute after the close of polls, and by the regulations he had missed the chance to vote, and it was not too good to see him miss it. For his family was saying that they didn't know he could vote without his voter ID card. So maybe going into the future, a lot more voter education should come out, because in the afternoon I met the member NDC candidate for Kankwe Central, Baba Sadiq, who was telling me that some people didn't even know that they could vote without the fingerprint verification. So it means that when somebody comes and they test, as in, they didn't know, even the EC, some of the EC officials didn't know that all the fingers have been captured during the registration. So when you come and you verify the thumb and it doesn't work, you are supposed to try others. So it was him consulting with the senior officials who were able to educate the officers at the polling station, and told me, like I said, there need to be more voter education. So yeah, polls officially closed, and then sorting of ballots, counting and everything. And the Ningo Pram constituency traditionally is an NDC constituency from '92, since we started voting as in this our fourth republic. It has always been won by the NDC. Talking about from the days of Stanley Basil, the first parliamentary rep from the constituency, who represented for '92. Then he was his position was taken over by the famous E.T. Enokte Mensah, who was their MP until 2016, when Sam George, of course, like you mentioned in the afternoon, his own more or less godson overthrew him. And Sam George, luckily for him, has more or less breaking the 8, even though the history tells us that Enokte has done it before. So sorting started, voting continued, sorting started, and then counting continued. And as it is, like I said, the NDC largely won the polling stations that we saw. From there, we moved to the collation center, constituency collation center, which has been set up at the Presby Church at the Old Ningo, where they first had to count the special voting before delving into today's ballots. And as at the time we were leaving, they were putting together things to start counting from the polling station. So that is a wrap of what has transpired at Ningo Pram today.
Thank you very much for that update. But so were there any incidents recorded, violent incidents, or the place was generally quiet, calm?
Ningo Pram today was generally calm, more peaceful and smooth, as you would want to put it, except for the little challenges that the Member of Parliament himself outlined during his visit to some of the polling stations. But Ningo Pram was very, very calm today.
So when polls closed, what was the mood? Were supporters celebrating, jubilating, or they were waiting for the results to be collated? And even after that, what was the mood like when some of the results were announced, if you were there at the time?
Yes, when the polls closed, everybody was just waiting for the counting to start. So it was when the counting happened that we began.
Did you get the impression that people were coming from their homes to witness the counting?
Oh yeah. I mean, the numbers at the polling station started increasing right after 3 p.m. to 3, 4, 5. Getting closer to, the more closer we got to the close of polls, the more the numbers started increasing until polls closed and sorting and counting started. And then finally the declaration at the various polling stations started coming in, and then you would have people massing up and then started jubilating. It was a sight to behold. Women and children were more in charge of the jubilation at the polling center. Then I think later in the evening, around 7 to 9, 8, when we're moving to the collation center, we ran into the MP's parade more or less, with him at the top of his Land Cruiser, with a whole crowd of supporters in front of him and all over the place on the streets of Old Ningo, jubilating. And when he was asked whether it was not just too early to be jubilating yet, he said probably they should find out from the supporters what they know. I mean, he's confident that he has won.
In all of these, where was the opponent?
For whatever reasons, we didn't run into the New Patriotic Party candidate today. It looked like and we didn't sense him. Maybe we may have missed him, but we didn't sense him on the grounds today. It was the incumbent MP that we more or less sensed him, doing his rounds here and there. You go here and you are told that he has been here before or he's likely to come here.
Right, thank you very much. So on your screen, Sam George arriving at which
this is his victory parade.
Okay, which place was this?
This is Old Ningo.
Okay.
Old Ningo. Old Ningo. The constituency is quite large, very, very large. I mean, like I said, you talk about Afienya Mataiko, Old Ningo, then you go to Pram itself, and I think the constituency borders Adan, so it goes to all those places, and so it's quite large. And I believe his hometown is Anyem, which is around the Old Ningo area. So it looks like that is why the jubilation was more concentrated around that area.
Right. Thank you very much, EC, who happens to be our reporter on the ground at Ningo Pram. I don't know if Eche would have anything to ask him other than that. We continue with some of the important stories that you find on GhanaWeb. If you log on, because we are not sleeping. We are not sleeping. Actually, GhanaWeb operates 247. And so, even when there is no elections, we don't sleep. How much more when there is election? Very important elections as well. Eche.
So the stories you can find on the website. So you see stories like police fire pepper spray, tear gas to disperse agitated crowd at Ablekuma West. Ablekuma West is the constituency of Esla Owusu Ekufo, who is also the Minister of Communications and Digitalization. So there was some chaos there, and then the police had to disperse the crowd with tear gas. That's the second story we are getting about police dispersing crowds with tear gas, because when Henry was here earlier, he mentioned what happened at Ablekuma North. There's also the story about Sami Jemfi telling the NDC party members to be vigilant, telling them don't celebrate yet. NDC orders party members. So Sami Jemfi there, he says, be vigilant, don't celebrate yet. On to our next story there, you see EC official at Esikado Collation Center rushed to the hospital after collapsing. If you go into the story, let me just read a bit of that story for you. It says an official of the Electoral Commission at the Esikado Collation Center in the Western region has been rushed to the hospital after collapsing. In a video shared by journalist Olele Salvador on X, the official collapsed during the process and was lying down, unable to breathe properly, which drew the attention of those present. The individual was immediately administered CPR and quickly taken to the hospital for medical treatment. The EC officials in the constituency are yet to provide an update. So, I mean, as of the time the story was done, no update had come in. I don't think that we've even seen any update as of yet as well. Now, just some two other stories, then would see if we can get into other discussions. Watch how EC officials transported ballot papers with taxi to the Ablekuma West constituency. Okay, that's an interesting one. They use taxis. Don't know how safe it is to use a taxi. Let me read a bit of that story. It says chaos erupted at the Ablekuma West constituency when EC officials attempted to use a taxi to transport ballot papers to the collation center. Okay, so they attempted. It says residents and voters protested as the counted papers were packed into the taxi by EC officials, with many opposing the idea. The presiding officer at the polling station explained that the taxi was the only affordable option after voters had earlier protested against the use of a private vehicle. To ensure the papers were transported safely, party agents and the police accompanied the taxi. I think one resident spoke and said this, and this is his quote. He says, they said they didn't have cars, so we helped them hire a taxi to ensure safety. We initially accepted the private car, but the way they acted made us suspicious. We want to be vigilant this time, which is why we prefer the taxi. If anything happens, we can trace it with a registration number. That's one of the residents in the Ablekuma West constituency speaking there. 2 EC officials collapsed at Collation Center. We brought that earlier. And there was also chaos at Tema Central Royal School after residents resist attempts to transport ballot boxes. And there's this is my last story actually. There's an interesting story about who succeeds Napo in Menchia South. Who succeeds Napo in Menchia South. And as you know, Napo is the running mate of the MPP, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh. That's him. He is running mate to Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. He is currently the MP for Menchia South. But because he's running mate, he's unable to run as a parliamentary candidate. So he was replaced by Dr. What's his name? His name is... Okay, I'll get you his name. So he was replaced by someone, and so this actual... Yes, his name is Nana Eje Bafwewa. Nana Eje Bafwewa. So this story, when you go into it, you can look for the stories on GhanaWeb.com. Who succeeds Napo? It's an interesting read. I think that if you're not reading the story at all, you should go read the story. Very interesting read there. All right, so it's still a continuous coverage of the elections, as Abrantipa said. Already inside, but we are here. But we are here. We're still hoping that we can bring you some more before even it's... the last EC presser was what we just took. I don't know, you, George, you were in the field, so I don't know if you followed any of the EC presses, but otherwise, Abrantipa can help me. What would you say the presses have been have dealt with issues as much as they were supposed to give us updates? Have they sufficiently given us those?
I think to a large extent, the update has been very successful. You could say that it's one of the avenues of fighting misinformation and disinformation out there, because at the end of the day, you know there will be an official communication. I don't know if in the past there were scheduled press conferences, as in to say that we address you every 3 hours. What I know, or what I can recall, is that there were press conferences in the past, but as and when exactly they will do that, I don't recall there was something like that. But this year we've had that, and they've been able to give us information, clarification, even though there are some of the comments that you may not agree with them. But at the end of the day, they give information, and some of them, when you cross-check, you notice that yes, indeed, that's the case. I think the only one that I have had to disagree with them is the turnout, because if you've not received the figures from all the constituencies, I don't know how you're able to conclude that voter turnout was massive. I mean, that should be something that you would say when you have all the data, all the results. So that's the only thing that
Ironically, the EC kept telling the media that before we put our numbers, we should cross-check with them.
Yes, for me, you see, it depends on which spectacle that you'll be wearing, because checking with the EC, for me, my understanding was it should be what is on the pink sheet, what the two political parties. Yes. I always forget that.
There are 10 others.
What the political parties, the agents have signed, that is cross-checking or verifying from the EC. It's not to say that if you have your figures, come and show it to us for us to say, okay, yeah, it's correct. But, you know, take it from the right source. And if you would agree with me, there are a number of figures that we've seen from constituencies. You would check other sources and the figures are different. Why? Because there are different different people with different interests. Everyone is claiming that they have won. And here is the case where we have the influx of influencers. Some accounts were created just last week or a few days to the election, and they operate these accounts however they choose to. If there are some of them, when you check, you notice that, oh, these accounts were created just a few days ago, and the trajectory of their postings, the content, you notice that, oh, okay, even though you don't have facts, you can just deduce from whatever is out there, because you have, funny enough, you have multiple accounts pushing out a certain narrative at the same time. So that alone should tell you that, I mean, one of the ways by which you identify that this information could be credible is how it is being shared. So with that, for me, I don't see anything wrong with that, because you cannot just. Last time I was making a statement that when the ballots are counted, some people can order for a recount. Now, even if nobody orders for a recount, per my experience with coverage of election, I know that sometimes people make mistakes, and instead of putting the parliamentary ballot paper into the parliamentary box, they will rather put in the presidential box. For whatever reason, they may not have checked, and some people may not be lettered enough to read to know that this is where you need to put it. So sometimes when you are counting the parliamentary papers and you are done, you move on to the presidential, and as you can, you notice that there are some parliamentary papers, ballot papers that are there. So if before we conclude, you've already announced this, coming back to say that, oh, 2 more ballot papers were here, and so we're coming to add to it, that's when some people will assume that the figures are being changed. So what the EC is saying is that, wait, when everything is counted and the pink sheet is signed, that's when you have the figures. Those figures are certified. There is no way those figures can be changed, because at the end of the day, we are finished counting all the ballot papers from all the boxes, and these are the figures recorded. So check with us is verifying it, and this is one of the basic principles of journalism. Check, cross-check, and check again. So, and you don't just rush and then put out figures, especially when this is a very delicate situation. I mean, the listing someone is offended, and even when they know that they are losing, you know, sometimes you see that you are losing, but you don't want to agree, you don't want to admit, you don't want to accept defeat. So you tend to push the blame to someone and say, oh, this, that. You know you are losing, but you find a way to pamper yourself and say, yo, at least we tried. So for me, I think that the EC has been good, and you see the way they answer their questions. You don't beat about the bush. It's straightforward. If it's not come to their attention, it's not come to their attention. There is no room for guessing to say we think or we assume. No. You see, and that's communication. If you don't know, you don't know. And sometimes you may know, but you don't have much information about it. It's either you say you are still investigating, or you don't have information about it, or the information that you have is scanty. You don't go about to share opinions. And for me, I think that Mr. Samuel Tete has done very well with his responses.
George. So I personally have a principle when it comes to election. I believe that besides the secrecy of ballots, nothing else about elections should be held a secret. Everything should be transparent if we are really much interested in fostering peace and even ensuring accountability and everything else. We need to make sure that everything is as transparent as possible. So with the EC's periodic updates and everything is in the right direction. Of course, somebody just said that, look, depending on which media house you are listening to, it wouldn't be surprised to hear somebody claiming that somebody is winning Bantama, where you would ordinarily know that it is gone to some, it is even gone to some place even before we go to the polls, but then the person will be claiming it for himself, and it will be the same thing for Ketu South, somebody. So it boils down to, like you said, the pink sheet. And when people talk about rigging and all that, the reason why some people will argue that, look, this our election is not something that you can necessarily rig. It has to do with where you get that opportunity. Because if you send your agents to the polling station and they ensure that everything is done by the books, and at the end of the day, everybody has signed to the evidence of what has happened on the day on the pink sheet, then everything ends there. Because at the end of the day, whoever is collating the results at the constituency level is basing on the pink sheet. And Jane Mensah and the EC officials in Accra are doing everything based on the pink sheet. So even if you are going to have to challenge the results at any point in time, that is why we have the famous pink sheet talk from 2012 and all that. So for me, the transparency is very important, and as much as possible, we need to pay attention to the process rather than allowing all this hula baloo here and there to distract us from what is more important. Because like I said, if you are a political party and you are not able to get your people to stay on the job at the polling station and they fail, you have nobody to blame. Like you said, I've always said that, look, when you have a ball, Obian lose too much that referee young. The BR referee Ghana, like we do that all the time. I mean, our beloved Black Stars who have now become an albatross around our neck. When they lose match, it is not their fault. It is somehow the referee. I mean, sometimes we'll bash them, but we'll still get to blame the referee. But you don't need to put yourself in that position. If winning is what you're really seeking for, and you know that you have done enough, you have worked enough for it, then the best thing for you to do is to pay attention to the process and ensure that everything is done by the book. Once you do that, everything else is done.
Now, this is something we've not spoken so much about today, but there will be popular independent candidates going into the race. I've not heard anything about Alan. I've not heard about Nana.
Parliamentary.
Or even for Parliament, that we have the Cynthia Morrison, we have all these other guys who were in the center of this controversy in Parliament. I have not heard anything. Have you heard anything about any of these people from both parliamentary and then presidential?
For presidential, I mean, our presidential politics has always been centered about even to an extent our parliamentary. It has always been our usual NPP and NDC. But personally, for me, going into this election, and I still believe it may happen. I expect at least not less than 3 independent parliamentary candidates to enter the 9th parliament.
Okay.
Minimum of 3. And I believe it is still possible. I believe that can happen.
That can happen.
Yes.
He just did editing in his head.
I believe that can happen. But talking about presidential, you know, what I think there's this pattern developing in our presidential election where every year it looks like the newcomer becomes the third force.
Yeah.
You remember 2016?
Boom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This year, I mean, the results, we are in the early days of the results.
If actually go as way back to when Indum was even flag bearer of, how they call it? The PPP. Yes, same.
Exactly. So it would never be a surprise to see Kwame, because, I mean, being at the polling station today, I saw him doing averagely better numbers than any other candidate. So I would expect him to come third. I would not be surprised to see that. But I mean, largely to talk about the performance of our independent candidates, Ghana at this point, our democracy has developed to a point where it remains between the MPP and the NDC.
All right. Coalition at Ayawaso West Wuogon has been interrupted. Abraham, you want to take this?
Yes, I'm told Isaac is on the line. Hello, Isaac Dazi, welcome. What more can you tell us? We are told that the coalition has been disrupted. What exactly happened? Hello, Isaac. Okay, right. So we're still waiting for the feed from Isaac Dazi. We are told that Ayawaso West Wuogon coalition process has been disrupted. And so if we're able to reconnect, we definitely will have that conversation. But George, you were making a point. Or you ended?
Just I ended with that, unless
Okay.
maybe Ichi has something else he would. Oh, and by the way, this is, I mean, we are in the election season, but the other relevant developments still happening in other parts of the nation. On our way from Mingo, we ran into an accident around Community 25. Apparently, a GMC SUV bearing a DV number plate ran into a VIT and then subsequently ran into a trotro. And per our understanding of eyewitness accounts, around 5 or more were seriously injured, including a child. And that, as at the time, you know, on election days, there's less traffic than you would expect. So the situation had caused a little bit of traffic, but then because of the general reduction in traffic today, it was better. So when we got there, by the time we got there, the police had told the GMC and I think the trotro, and was just about to tow the vets. So that is just something, by the way.
Okay, right. Isaac is back on the line. Isaac Dazi is at the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. Hello, Isaac, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Right, so we are told that counting has been disrupted. What exactly happened?
Okay, so as at exactly 11:25 or 11:20 about p.m., The coalition process which was underway was suddenly disrupted by loud noises outside. Now, eventually, a young man was dragged in by some NDC party executives and some other members of the public. He was being accused of having brought in 2 ballot boxes, claiming to be from the voter hall at the University of Ghana. However, the problem was the 2 ballot boxes in question had already been brought in earlier from the same voter hall at the University of Ghana. Now, when they did further checks, they claimed that the boxes brought in by this young man were also unstamped. So this young man also refused to answer questions as to where about he procured these ballot boxes and who gave these boxes to him. So he was quickly brought in by the executive into the main hall where the coalition was and was being questioned by this executive. Well, as to speak, eventually he has been rescued by members of the Ghana police and dragged from that part of the auditorium while the coalition process is being attempted to right. It's being continued. If I say that's basically what's happening right now.
And this incident happened at the coalition center?
Yes, please, at the Omega Show auditorium at the University of Ghana Business School, where the coalition was taking place.
And this gentleman you are talking about entered the coalition center?
Yes, concerning that, he had entered the coalition center with 2 ballot boxes, claiming to be from the coalition. But then those already at the center claimed that the boxes had already been brought in hours earlier. So these 2 boxes, they don't know where it came from. And this young man refusing to give any answers as to where he got his boxes from. So because of that, he was dragged into the coalition center.
And if he was able to enter the coalition center, that means he had accreditation?
Apparently, it seems so he had. If he was able to bring those 2 boxes in. But he hasn't been able to understand whereabouts he got any of these accreditations or the boxes.
So, as we speak, where is he?
Well, it's still in the main auditorium where it's taking place. It's been taken to a secluded part of the auditorium. If you remember that Omega Show auditorium, it's kind of like a slopey auditorium, like it comes down. Now it's been dragged up to a corner of the auditorium and it's being guarded by the police from an angry mob. And yeah, there's still the mob trying to engage the young man, beat them up, and they're still being rescued away. They fixed away. So far, it can't be taken out of the auditorium because there's also an angry mob of youth, the NC supporters, outside. So it's still being kept at the auditorium for his own safety by the members of the police.
Apart from that, is there any activity that has impacted on the coalition, or it's just been only this?
Okay, so far, apart from this, there's been no other issues affecting the coalition process. Although it's quite started to take place, the main coalition itself started at around 10:40 p.m., but was going on smoothly, but with a few delays. However, this has been the major incident to disrupt the coalition process this evening.
All right. Thank you, Dazi. And have you spotted any of the aspirants there?
No. So far, John DeMello was spotted after the time when the counting process was at its end. John DeMello was spotted driving around campus to the chairs of the parents. But since then, neither John DeMello nor J.J. Allison has been spotted on campus since then.
Collecting the results, or what happened earlier, I'm referring to the gentleman that came there with 2 boxes, has caused the coalition to be halted.
So I didn't get that question. Can you repeat it?
Is coalition still ongoing, or because of the incident about the young man coming in with some ballot boxes that had unstamped ballot papers, it has halted?
The coalition process halted for like a few minutes when the man was initially brought in. But right now, the process is still ongoing. The process is continuing right now.
All right, Isaac, thank you so much. If anything, we'll come back to you. Thank you for this report, and please stay safe. So you see what I was talking about, all the candidates claiming to have won. Now, I have seen stories, I've seen social media posts purporting that Lydia Alhassan has won, others saying John Dumelo has won, and here is the case that collation is not even done.
I believe it is in the interest of the political parties to ensure that the collation somehow, some way happens, not just happens, but then happens in a very smooth way. There are already, like you are saying, there are a lot of reports already on social media, including some saying ballot papers, boxes have been destroyed and papers flying all over. Now, if we allow this to happen at our collation centers, what is going to happen to the collation itself? Because you would need this ballot pink sheets and what have you to collect your results. So I think as much as the political parties want to be vigilant in protecting the ballot, it shouldn't just be for the saying of it, but they should make sure that the ballot boxes are actually safe. So they don't end up. I mean, if you end up entering a collation center and destroying the ballot paper, how do you expect to win? So it is in their own interest to ensure the very safety of the ballots that they say they are protecting.
Right, okay, so it's still our coverage of the 2024 elections. We call it Election Desk on GhanaWeb TV. Let's go for a break. When we return, we shall continue with the coverage.
So you can
in front of people, you no, we are ready to beat him. Do the right thing. This is what I have in my hand.
All of a sudden, then we came to cover him. Then we came to make a video. Then he started.
This is the video. Is that not you?
Is this not you?
Madam, listen.
And when they question you, what do you say? They question you. And that is you can confirm. That's the name of the book. You can confirm. That is the seal on the floor. And I took it. But he's here denying it.
That's the question I'm asking. Who is the
But he's not denying it.
You are sending a false video. A false
and that is the name of the book.
Blood will be oozing from his face.
And that is the seal he cut on the ground there. Okay. And I took the seal, but now he's denying it.
So apparently they will have to. He was not supposed to cut the seal. The seal was correct. The party agents have not taken the every time you want to do anything, the agents should be there for them to also take the record and supervise what you are doing. To be sure that you are doing the right thing. You can't be continuously planting. I said because you have other things. So you can do it on the road. It's not allowed. That is not the rule. It's not done that way. That is not the rule.
Thank you.
So this is the entrance of the Our Lady of Mercy Secondary School. You can see police officers are escorting the item. A vehicle is coming inside. Outside, the police are checking. There's a crowd outside. The police are checking that everything is done smoothly before the items are brought in. The AC officials are being allowed in first. And there seems to be some commotion outside there. So some people are even taking out their shirts. So we are updating you on what is currently happening. There's a vehicle that looks like a bus, probably transporting items here, but it's been impeded by people, by some of the people in front of the collation center. This is what happened before you are allowed to enter. The police will make sure they check everything before you enter. If you are not allowed, you are not authorized to be here, you are not going to enter. We'll be keeping you updated. You need to see.
Well, I don't know what makes her think that she's a heavyweight. Somebody who has been elected as member of parliament for 2 terms, 8 years, and suddenly abandons her people. How sure are you that my people will have confidence in such a person? You think that my people will trade me for that? She came here and she was going all over the place, sharing salt, Maggi, sharing Indomie to show to you. She did all this with impunity. She showed money. But at the end of the day, at the end of today, love and truth will reign in Okaikut. I am confident that I, Teresa Awuni, I will retire the Kua from politics. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. When I was coming in myself, the way they squeezed me at the gates, is that those bringing the ballot boxes were coming in their numbers, and the police was finding it difficult to control. the youth out also wanted to get into the yard, and I think it is not safe to have them here while we are collating. So I'm sure that's what the police used force to spray tear gas, and it's resulted. 2 girls have been affected. I've even asked my driver to take them to the hospital. This should not happen. It's unfortunate, and I condemn it with everything I hold. I don't think that this should happen at all.
Actually, my name is Kwame. We are in Domi Kwabenya, and we have seen MPP, the work they have done. Yes, good 16 years in Domi Kwabenya. We have never set our eyes on anything from MPP. We have never set our eyes on MPP. So in this era, we have changed our mind that we want eloquently to come to Domi Kwabenya and come and use our youth to give us job. We don't have job. I'm a rider, I'm a praga rider. We are suffering from fuel. Seriously, we don't have any work to do. So we are pleading that eloquently should come and take us.
Kasa. I mean Kasa. Free 84, now we were 18 years. Ya worry me every abekala pass ya de be bad on me ha. MPP one efa. Como fans was in a cronity and for papa behind Comoso. What almost nye yentimi ecosin de make kwe wafa ye senate sanete adwasa funso be tie sene Domi Kwabenya tie sanete Mbranti nkomba mbirwan nkomba nkola nkomba atomic asase yesi fa hokura obedwane eye bush ende woko hu a wo ma twetwa ato ama wo ho efi aketie doma maba no wo se land ne da ho no wo se hospital ketie ma ye wo se school and ma ye St. John's free my 7 ego si Domi ego si atomic runabout when Doma who ya mo no see when the Domi Kwabenya mo bre Domi market mo da mo atache mo ti bi wura market na bua mo obi twa kwa sa ko si atomic runabout Doma na mo to Domi school a tintin ni na ya Doma ma no wo se mo che ade ba ko mo ya wa Domi ene o mo bi o ma fa go se e ko 28 years o ma fa MP wa kuo mu ha shini ho and then me ton wache me yama wache wa Domi ha me ton wache akufu atam ye to wache beans kotoko kese no 1.5 aroma omo 135 and wache omo kotoko 40 million yaka yesi ye koye nim eni sa brewe yi ye nkola nkitinkiti omo sorry wo ya ni sein wo Ghana koma Domi ye bro Domi mbranti ye bre ende Doma manya me pejawo no peja elikpilia ye de ampai bo tawo chi wonda ne mo hu hwe Domi Kwabenya mbranti wonda ne mo hu hwe Domi for mbranti ye Domi from mbranti o ma branche wo mweni abeto ye wo mweni Domi mbranti o mweni abeto o mo maame mo o mo so bre o mo maame bre o mo so bre nyame afi we de wa ye bi twa so ma ye hu sa biom ye hu asomje ene ade pa wo Domi kuro mu ha
Abana ya tuneno ewo Domi school mu Anglican school mu hai nyame nhira ye de nyame asipa se nyame amani nsaso wa ha se wa amani nsaso wa bebia ne ebi nsida eliklim eni mahama fa omuntwa omani behwe Domi na ya brepa epipifo abrama ya brepa papa Domi ha ye ba Domi ha ye fa bucket fi ha ne yakọ Christian village ansa na yakọ se nsuo ana atomic enne NBC for brain nsuo wo Domi nsuo wo mo betu wo mo omo ba ye 8 good years ni na me ni pakese pa obi anim nanso enne adwindwinti ye ko fa loan kura ye husu loan be ma wadwinsa ma wankasa no bebi edi wo be kono na se nyame enne ya to abanyame etie ye mpai bo a Yes, Renya Miss Onya Diakanumai. Daddy woman in Betray. Not yet the Omo Chingene. It is a Yamma Samba, Omo Betray. Ellie couldn't be Mahama. Meaning so more. Mamma Canina. It's Omonia Maya. Those
were some voters sharing their concerns that now that their presidential and parliamentary candidates have won the election, they are calling on them to come back and then also give them more developmental projects here at GhanaWeb constituency. Reporting live from the Anglican Primary School, my name is Celestina Sawa Hassan.
All right, so it's time for us to wrap up and
go to our house.
Go to. we've been here since 6. Yes, on air, I should say, because yes, we got here before 6, and you know, it's time for us to run away.
At least for now,
yes.
Until the next morning.
Yes, I don't know how short the short break will be, but of course we need to take a rest, revived, revitalized, re-energized, God willing, tomorrow to bring you some updates. So maybe your I don't like your final words. Your final words sounds like
we'll be back. We're just taking a quick break and we'll be back.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
I don't think
we'll still keep you updated.
Yeah, so if you want any update, visit www.ghanaweb.com. Those people on the website, they are not sleeping. As for them, they will be here. But
we're going to join them.
Yeah. No, join them in terms
We're going to join them.
No.
We're going to join them.
We are right, so thank you very much for being a part of the show. We'll be back, God willing, tomorrow to continue with the coverage. I have been in the studio with the man that always wants to pronounce his name because he says he has a way of pronouncing his name. Masa, Efrose.
My name is Eche Atisu.
And
Patricia. Roxanne Hammond.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I am Benefo Guabin Abrantipa. Thank you to the production team, to Rhoda, to Shiloh, Kwame Adom, to Dorcas Ankuma, to Gifty, everyone who has contributed to this, Ahiale, Banahine, and the rest of the team. God willing, tomorrow we'll be back. Thank you for watching.
All right.
Thank you.